Hello students and families. So here is our first how-to video. This is a step-by-step of the line plot formative that we did in class today. So first we read the directions and the problem. During a class field trip to the movies, each student bought a bag of bulk candy. The following are the bags of candy measured to the nearest eighth of a pound. Organize the data and create a line plot to display the data. So notice our standard up here. Here's the data points that we're working with, and here's a line that we're going to use for our plot here in a moment. So first I want you to notice that the problem asks for us to use the nearest eighth of a pound. So this tells us that we need a denominator of 8. So two of our data points already have an 8 for denominator, but we need to make the other ones in the same unit fraction. So that's what we're going to do first. So we're going to find equivalent fractions for each of these measurements. So a quarter of a pound is this, or 1/4 is the same as 2/8 because we multiply both the numerator and denominator by 2. We've got 6/8 for 3/4. We have 2 of those. Over here we had another quarter that was also 2/8. We talked today about how 1 is 8/8, and there's 2 of those. There's another one over here. And then 1/2 and 2/4 are equivalent fractions, and they both, expressed as eighths, are 4/8. So now we don't need to do anything with 7/8 and 3/8 because those are already in the unit fraction. So there are all the equivalent fractions we have in terms of eighths. Now that we have that information, we can organize the data. So now we need to write these new fractions that we found and put them in order from least to greatest. Make sure you put each instance of the fraction. So notice there's 2/8, so we put both of them in the list because remember each one represents a kid. So Maddie got 2/8 of a pound and Riley also got 2/8 of a pound. So we need to make sure both of them are represented in the list. So we've got 2/8, 2/8. Notice that I checked off as I went along to keep track and make sure that I didn't miss any data points. So in the end, having from least to greatest, from 2/8 to 8/8, or 1, I have 10 data points, and up here I have 10 checks. So everything is accounted for. So moving on, now we're going to label the line with the fractions in order. So I put my 4/8 in the middle, and then I went through and I split my middles, and I put in my 2/8 and my 6/8, and then I filled in the other numbers so that it was evenly dispersed across the line. So our next step, now that our line is prepared, is to actually place the x's. So as you can see, since there were two 2/8 fractions, there's an x for each of them here. So you draw an x to represent each fraction on the number line. And the fractions that are repeated show multiple x's on the same spot. So there was only one fraction that was 3/8, 2 for 4/8, none for 5/8, 2 for 6/8, 1 for 7/8, and 2 for 8/8. So this is very similar to a bar graph or a picture graph where at a glance we can see how the data was dispersed across the different amounts. So now the question is, how many pounds of candy did the class buy all together? So now we need to add the fractions. So I'm going to put addition signs between all my fractions there, and we're going to add them all up. To do this more efficiently, I'm going to use the make a 10 strategy. So notice that there's a 2 here and an 8 here. I can put them together and make a 10. I can do that with the next 2 and the next 8 and make another 10. 3 and 7 also make 10. 4 and 6, 4 and 6. There's 2 more 10s. So now I have a total of 5 10s, or 50. That was a lot more efficient than me adding them across the top. Either 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 3 is 7, plus 4 is 11. You get the idea. So this is much more efficient. So if you don't already use the make a 10 strategy, you may want to start putting it in your toolkit. So our final answer, we get 58ths, which when it becomes a mixed number is 6 2/8 because 8 will go into 50 6 times for 48, which gives us a remainder of 2, which we express over 8. And then we know that 2/8 can be reduced to 1/4. So our final answer is that they bought 6 1/4 pounds of candy. I certainly hope they didn't eat all of that on the bus ride home from the field trip. Okay, that's it for today. I hope that this video helped you understand what we did with line plots in class. Thank you.